Let's go ahead and explore some of the other tools found within the line tool group. We are not going to use a spiral tool. I never use a spiral tool. It's a pain in the butt. In this project, we are not going to use a polar grid tool. We will later on likely, but not right now. We're going to use the rectangular grid tool, and I will show you the arc tool. So let's get started with the rectangular grid tool. Now I rarely use this to actually draw something with. What I do use it for, and a lot of designers use it for, is to create a custom grid to then draw other shapes inside of. And I'll show you what I mean as you follow along. We're going to use it to create a guidelines, custom guidelines. So we know we have a guidelines layer. Let's click on it. Let's unlock it so we can draw on it, because we're going to create guidelines. And we're going to take our rectangular grid tool. We want to make sure we have no fill, which is the red line, and a black stroke. Then I'm going to come right on over to this anchor point where the roof and the wall meet. I'm going to click, I'm going to drag, I'm not going to let go, I'm just going to keep dragging without letting go until I hit that other anchor point. I'm still not letting go. Here's why. I want to adjust this with the mouse still pushed down, how many columns and how many rows there are. If I hit the up arrow, that adds another row, which we want. We want 7 rows, so up arrow once. Now I want to add some more columns, right? Now if we want to take a row away, that'd be down arrow. So that should be easy to figure out, right? I want to add some columns. Right now we have 6 columns. I want 13. You'll see why later, but just trust me, we want 13. So still holding the mouse down, right arrow to the right. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Let go of the mouse. Now these are not guidelines yet. We did draw them on the guideline layer, but right now they're still paths. So what do we need to do? We need to come up to view, and we need to come under guides and make guides, or command 5. Now if I click off with the black arrow and I click off, you can see that those are now guides. Turquoise kind of color, like these other ones. I want to click off, I want to lock guidelines because I don't want to draw on it. We've created the guidelines, now we want to draw on them. Actually, you know what? To be a little less confusing, let's get rid of those 4, or those 2. We don't need that quadrant anymore. Now let's lock our guidelines layer. Come up to our line art layer, and we want to draw inside of our grid. Alright? So next mission you're going to learn about shapes, but temporarily I'm going to show you how to use the rectangle tool. We want to make sure it has a fill of white for a white window, and I'm going to take the zoom key or zoom tool and I'm going to zoom in. And you notice it kind of jumped to the right. If yours did that, hold the space bar, it gives you the hand, and then with space bar hold down, click with the mouse and then drag to the left. Okay, we want to make a window right there. So I'm going back to my rectangle tool, which is M, and inside we're going to try to line up. Maybe we want to zoom in one more time just to get it better. Space bar, kind of line us up again. Okay, rectangle tool right here. We want to fill in this little box. So I'm going to click on that and then drag over there. Selection tool to click off, and now you notice we have a little white window. Alright, I want to click on this with the selection tool. I'm going to start dragging it. I'm going to hold shift to constrain it so it doesn't go outside of our grid. I'm going to line it up over there, and I'm going to hold option to make a copy, and I'm going to let go of the mouse before the keyboard. And then we're going to duplicate that over a couple more times. So Command D, Command D, Command D, and Command D. Okay? Now, mine's a little bit off. It looks like I dragged it a little past the blue point, or a little past the line. We could fix that with Snap to Grid, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. It doesn't need to be that precise, but if you needed to, Just make sure that you line it up perfectly. But for this case, what we're doing is close enough. Now, I want to, with this selected, we want to use this tool right here, select similar objects. I'm going to click on that, and you notice it has now clicked all of them. You can see because there's that little red dot in the middle. We want to make a copy of that, so I'm going to click on it with the selection with the black arrow. I'm going to hold shift as I drag down. I'm going to hold option to make a copy, and then Command D to duplicate. We have a series of windows. We no longer need that grid line, so we can turn it off. I can click here in the empty space, Command 0 to zoom out, and we have some factory windows. Last but not least, arc tool. I don't use it very often, but let's just kind of intersect, get that purple line right in the middle of our smokestack. And I'm going to click and drag this over, and let's see. Maybe, no. I'm going to do 1.15 by 1, so get it close. 1.15 by 1. We want a black stroke on it, so right now I have no stroke. I want to make that black. It's a really thin stroke, so let's come up to our stroke right here, make that like an 8. And you have an arc tool. I can option, shift, drag that over. Say it's kind of like a smoke coming out of a smokestack. There's a fancier way where we can use this, make some smoke. It's a pain, not necessary. I'm not going to show you how to do that. Last thing I want to do is, we have this empty gap over here. I want to center our artwork on our artboard. Alright, so let's take the selection tool, and we're on our line art layer, and I want to select everything on that layer. Another word for everything is all. All starts with an A. So Command A selects everything. You can see a bounding box around it all. I'm going to close this palette. I don't need it anymore. So we have a bounding box over it all. It's all selected. We have these alignment options up here, right? First thing we want to do is align not to a selection. We want to hit that down arrow. We're going to learn about what these different options are. Right now we want to align to the artboard, so it puts it in the middle. And you have these different options here, and they're pretty self-explanatory. Like this one that has a line in the middle is going to move everything to the right. Something bad's going to happen, but I'm going to do it anyways just to show you. Boom. Uh-oh. What happened to all of our cool art? It moved every single object directly center, right? We don't want that. It moved everything, all the little pieces. So Command Z to undo. Command Z to undo. We first need to make this a group. All these things drawn on an artboard are objects. So there's a menu option up here called Object. My guess is there's one called Group, which also has a shortcut key of Command G, G for group. I'm going to click that, makes it a group. Now let's center. Boom. There we go. Nice and centered. You can also do vertical line, move it down a little bit, but that gets us centered. At this point, you can keep it grouped, or if you wanted to, you can ungroup it. Either way, I'm going to keep it grouped for now. I'm going to click off. You can see we have this nice building, smokestacks, windows. We learned the most important and the various line segment tools to help you get started in Illustrator. What haven't we done yet? We haven't saved. So Command S to save. Good job following along. You're going to create your own next.